From Del Rio, Texas, home of Lake Amistad, your host, Rob Wade. This guy who dives. This episode of This Guy Who Dives, recorded live Sunday, 21 May 2017, episode 173. Something wicked this way comes, or not. Well, once again, here we are with another episode of This Guy Who Dives, and I'm your host, Rob Wade, and I'm wrestling with some of our fur kids who are trying to gain a spot on the coveted host seat here. I'm surprised I haven't got Ronan already asking to be up on the guest host seat. Apologies right off the bat for the huge delay. We were dealing with some bug problems outside. Whether I say it and it now happens. So here comes Ronan. Come here, buddy. Say hi to everybody with your wet paws. Oh goodness, what a mess. All right, so these are the challenges of having a podcast done from your home studio. And when you have this many fur kids around, they climb up on everything and make noises, and hopefully we have them under control now. It's just been crazy weather and lightning and thunder, and just the dogs have been freaking out, and just really a lot of rain. And unfortunately, that also translated to the ant problem that we have. In this part of Texas, we deal with these cut ants. Huge problem here. If you have any land at all, you're going to find holes and holes and holes and holes and holes of these mounds for the cut ants. And we have some underneath our shed. I wonder what's going on with the video here. We have some underneath our shed, and when it rains this hard, they all come out. And so it's been crazy. I went outside when we finally had a let up in the rain, which has been torrential today, and saw nothing but ants all over the place. And so while they're out and active, I got the triazicide that we use to keep them at bay, and man, I doused all the areas there that where the ants are. So it's a mess. Hopefully we killed them off for a month or two. I wish there was a permanent way to get rid of these things, but in all of God's creation, I wish we could get rid of these and ticks. I don't see any use for either of these. And all of you environmentalist wackos out there can just bite me. If I could find a way to eradicate ants and eradicate ticks, I can deal with just about everything else. But those are two things that I just can't stand. I just don't see the value in them at all. So anyway, so that's what I was out there doing. I wanted to take care of that before it gets dark, because with the storms the way we have been getting this weekend, which has basically sucked. It's been challenging to get out and take care of the yard. I've got grass growing like crazy now. Well, grass and clover. We have caliche clay basically for our yard, so it's kind of hard to grow much there. So sadly, it's mostly caliche. Wow, what is going on with our internet? I'm looking at the modem here, and I see it's a good solid connection both up and down, but I don't know what's going on. I'm seeing a lot of staggering going on with some of our computers here. We should have tremendous bandwidth because we got the high-end package. Anyway, so I was able to get it out there before it gets dark. I don't know if you can see how dark it's starting to get out there. Casa de Wade. And with the heavy clouds, it makes it even darker. And a matter of fact, I should probably check this while I'm thinking about it. We get automatic alerts from the Air Force Base that we work at. When you register your information with the base, well, actually with the Air Force network, anytime you get weather alerts for the base, you get notified out on your phone. So when we have these tornadoes and other storms like this, hail was, we had a hail warning this morning while we were at church. Our phones both blow up, and then of course because we're all Windows 10 or 8 devices here. Everything is integrated, so you get notified on every device that you have, which is good because you never are missing out on an issue. But it can get annoying if it's something relatively minor. All right, so we just got another weather warning: moderate thunderstorms. Oh, great! With more hail, 1/2 inch. Great. 35 knot winds. Great. Just basically a repeat of what happened this morning from 8:51 until 9:51. So basically, I might be shutting down at some point during the show here. So just be ready in case that happens, because it's been, like I said, it's been crazy weather here. Let me check the chat area, see if we got anybody jumped in here. Wow, this is pretty wild. Nope, we're good. That's weird. Works when you blow it up. I'm really just getting tired of the Facebook with what Facebook's doing. One thing I've noticed is, and you may have noticed it too, since we switched to using Facebook Live for our show, one of the challenges is that it looks like how they render it, the voice, the sound is out of sync with the video. Now it's not recording that way, so I know it's not this system, because I can upload the video from the actual podcast because it records it as well as at the same time that it's sending it out, it's broadcasting it, and it's fine. It's perfectly synced up. I'm not having an issue, but for some reason, I see that it's having issues when they render it. I'm looking at an issue with we're trying out one of the new version of the software that they're using for this show, or for the broadcaster. They have XSplit has Broadcaster and Gamecaster. Well, I'm at the right. That's interesting. And yet it looks like it's out of focus. That is interesting, even though I know it focused in before. Yeah, so I'm trying to clean this up for you guys. And it's version 3 point whatever, and what we were using before was version 2.8, 2.9. Not sure. 2.8 is what we're using before. And now we're trying out their version 3 because it's got some more features, supposedly faster. But I'm running into some rather interesting issues so far that I've been sharing with them. One of which is when we show a screen region, which I didn't set that up properly. When we show a matter of fact, I can probably show you what happens. Let me pull up screen region. No, it's probably going to work now. Yeah, now it works, of course. When we add the screen region, you can, when you first select an area, it shows you the window. It'll even show you the edges, but it won't show you the whole thing. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can demonstrate for you, which is kind of annoying and can be a problem when you're trying to display something. Let me kill this, remove it. All right, so I'm going to add the, I have two monitors here, as you can see from, this shot. So I have a second monitor right here. So what the software lets me do, one of the things it lets me do is actually capture a part of the screen. So a lot of times I want to show you some websites or some YouTube videos or something. And so by doing a screen region capture like this, so I can add screen capture, and then I can either draw a section of the screen that I want it to grab, or I can actually just, it automatically will sense the outer edge of a window, like in this case, the Microsoft Edge window. So I click on it, and you see what happens. By default, I have to change the layers. For those who work with pictures, you understand how layers work. There we go. So have our lower third there. So right now you can't see, you see the upper part where the address bar is, etc. But in order for you to see the actual contents, I have to right click on the frame and then go into one of the capture options and uncheck exclusive window capture. And there you go. Now you see the content of it. So it's an annoying aspect, and they have not fixed that even going between version 2 to version 3, clearly. And I've been telling them this is really something that's annoying when you're trying to add something on the fly. So anywho, so those are just some of the challenges we've been running into working with them on this software. So the title of the episode this week is Something Wicked This Way Comes or Not. And there's going to be kind of a little bit of a running theme throughout the show. Starting off with our normal first segment, which is the movie review. So we went to see Alien Covenant last night or Friday night, and it was awesome. Now, I've seen each of the movies, each of the Alien movies when they first came out in the theaters. Okay, so I'm old enough to remember seeing the very first Alien movie in 1979 in the theater. So I was still in school, still in high school, and it was a new approach, high production values. It's still to this day is an amazing movie. And then Aliens was a good sequel to, it was an excellent sequel to it, but it kind of took it to a more, I don't know, a more action film than a horror film. And then 3 was horrible, though I just started reading about, because I guess I never saw it. Alien 3 was horrible, basically, and panned by just about everybody who liked the Alien movies. But I guess in 2003, and that's 10 years ago, they released a special edition version, which at the time was called the Assembly Cut, which practically retold the story with a lot of different footage, removed quite a bit of footage from the original and added other footage that was originally filmed, did some new voiceovers to clean up some of the production issues. And apparently most people who watched the special edition or assembly cut, which is now, if you've got the Alien Anthology, that's the version that's on there. It vastly improves it. Then of course there was Alien Resurrection, which was it was okay, it was fine. And then Prometheus, which was a ultra prequel, but not really prequel, and a lot of people panned that. I enjoyed it, but it just didn't tell the backstory the way what I was expecting, and in a way that I felt was as entertaining as it could be. So Ridley Scott then said, you know what, you're right. Let me take another shot at this. So he did a sequel, Alien Covenant, that's a sequel to Prometheus, but a prequel, part of a trilogy of prequels to the very first Alien movie. I would give this about a 7.5. It had a lot. I tell you, the music from the first Alien was beautiful and scary at the same time, and those themes showed up in this movie, and it made me feel good watching the movie to hear those themes underneath. Because for me, the musical score makes a big difference in how a movie comes across to me. So I can appreciate a good score. Anybody who watches, who's a fan of the Star Wars movies, they know they have a constant. They reuse a number of themes to carry various figures, characters, and people recognize them. And if you were a fan of the original movie, the original Alien movie, you will appreciate some of the thematic music that reappears, at least in part, in this movie. It does a good job of moving us really forward in the storyline, the backstory, but in certain areas frustrates me because basically this tells me that the whole thing is we did it to ourselves. Even though if you saw Prometheus, we learned about the engineers and how they crafted all these different microbes, etc., to generate new kinds of life and things like that. But that basically we got a hold of it and did it to ourselves, and that's ultimately what's going to lead to the first Alien, the original Alien movie. So that's why, because of that aspect of it, I kind of get, I have to knock it down for that. But it had a lot of the same scary flair, approach that the original Alien did, and a combination of aliens. So a good job with it. It was definitely better than Prometheus, and definitely better than Resurrection. And I will reserve my opinion of whether or not it was better than Alien 3 until after I've actually gone and watched the assembly cut. Now, another movie I wanted to review, I suggested it last episode, was Diving into the Unknown. And this is done, it's a foreign language documentary, but with actual footage taken via basically, I guess, a bunch of GoPro Hero cameras, where these Norwegian divers were diving in a cave. Finnish divers were diving in Norway, in a cave in Norway, and tragedy strikes. Two of the members basically get stuck and panic and die. And then they show a little bit of that tragedy. And then the rest of the film is spent them talking about preparations for and actually executing, and the epilogue for them recovering the bodies. And I tell you, some breathtaking video. And it's scary once you think about being that deep in a cave like that, underwater, where you bring whatever light you have. I mean, there is no light getting in there. So if you cut the lights out, it is pitch black. I mean, it is worse than any night dive that you might have. And I say worse than a night dive. I love night dives, but it's darker than any night dive you probably have ever gone on. So, but it was an amazing movie, telling a great story, although tragic, but to me, I want to use it as an educational tool. Again, I love movies that I can use for helping teach people about diving, about the dangers of diving. Because to be quite honest with you, I run into people frequently, especially newer divers, they're enticed by the idea of checking out, hey, there are any caves in Lake Amistad? And yes, there are. They're enticed by that, and they might be tempted to go penetrate the caves, although a lot of them are really difficult to really get stuck in, or penetrate, let's say, the old Devil's River Dam, those kinds of things, without the proper training. And this movie does a great job of not only demonstrating the beauty of what you can see there, but how absolutely dangerous it is. You need, even these people had perfectly honed skills. They have been doing this for years as a group. So they knew what each other's strengths were, what their weaknesses were. They knew what they could count on. But you even hear them talking about, it's all done with subtitles. You even hear them talking about how you can absolutely lose it. Turn the volume down on the big screen there. You can absolutely lose it even after having that much control, experience, composure. You can get to a point where something happens and it becomes a cascade of failures, and that your problem solving drops. One part that they were describing about the first person, who I think it was the first person who died. The diver that was with him saw him start to panic, trying to switch. They were diving with rebreathers, which allows them to spend incredible amounts of time underwater. I mean, some of these dives were like 6 hours. As a matter of fact, I was reading a part of it. One of the divers had to just kind of, he was getting concerned and a little freaked out. He said, you know what, I need to stop. So he took the longer way. He had to take the longer way back. And it was like an 11-hour. After 11 hours underwater, he finally got out. I mean, that just amazes me. When you see all the stuff they're dragging along with them. When I dive solo, I'm carrying my primary tank. I'm carrying a 19 cubic foot pony bottle with its own regulator, and I'm carrying a spare air, which is a 3 cubic foot bottle with its own regulator. I carry that kind of redundancy when I'm just doing a recreational solo dive out here. These guys were dragging 6-7 tanks with them to help augment their rebreather. So anyway, the one diver was explaining how as things started to cascade out of control, he's trying to help his buddy get his regulator back in his mouth, and he actually tried to shove the regulator in his mouth, and he said, of course, that didn't work. When he said, of course, that didn't work, that told me something, and it confirmed what I teach in the classes. When somebody gets into a full panic mode, they will do things that are exactly opposite of the right thing to do, and they will fight you tooth and nail in those conditions. They will spit out a regulator. They will shove a mask off of their face. I've seen video of people where they've been with a bunch of people and somebody goes into a panic, and you see them come up from underneath them, and their mask is off and their eyes are absolutely freakishly wide open, because they're trying to take in as much information as possible, but they're scared. And it's interesting, as wide as their eyes are in a panic, their ability to focus on the situation it's very myopic. It's very, very closed in. So they don't know how to react. They lose their ability to react. And that kind of thing can happen no matter how experienced you are. So I warn you, even though it's subtitled, the language is not suitable for families. But you see a very, very honest, and it's a documentary, but it's such a well-done documentary. Diving into the unknown. I highly recommend that. If you're a diver or interested in diving and you just kind of want to see the reality of taking chances that are within your training and experience, but that just shows what happens when you don't keep up on your skills. I can't reinforce enough with folks, no matter when you last had your training, when you last dove, you absolutely need to regularly practice those skills. Go through those 20 sets. If you're not sure, if you don't remember what they are, you can go online and find them out. Talk to anybody who's a dive professional, dive master, assistant instructor. We will be more than happy to share with you the list. So you can just kind of make that mental practice and then focus, so that next time you get on a dive, you know what, especially if it's been a while, get with your dive buddy and say, you know what, I want to run through a couple of the skills real quick. It doesn't take long just to make sure you got it. Two of the ones that I think are the most important for people to keep regularly practiced are the mask removal and replacement, or mask full flooding and clearing, because that's the one that will most likely cause a panic if somebody can't do it right and do it quickly. Or also the regulator recovery and clearing, because again, you'll see in this movie an example where they got the regulator out of the mouth and they did not get it back in. They eventually just started sucking down water and died. So diving is fun. Recreational diving is fun. The more technical you get into, the more risk you take on. So I never recommend anybody go and take more training than they're willing to experience. I do recommend at least up to the advanced class, maybe even a couple of the specialties like deep diving or something like that. Do you need to become a rescue diver, get a bunch of specialties under your belt, become a dive master? No. Do you need to get into the tech world, do rebreathers, that kind of stuff? No. But don't push yourself past the edge of where you're comfortable. If you are cool with just always doing a 60-foot or shallower dive, fine. Get that training, do it. And just stick with that. But don't let somebody give you peer pressure, apply peer pressure to make you, oh, come on, you can go a little deeper, blah, blah, blah. Don't exceed your training and experience. And even then, if you don't do a particular skill very often, you need to force yourself to do those skills more often. It's just the safest way to go. Let's see. In the tech news, not a lot to talk about, although it was leaked this week that Microsoft will be kicking out a Surface Pro tablet refresh. And let me show you get back to the screen region, because that's what we were going to show it to you from. There we go. And so here it is. They're just apparently going to call it the Surface Pro. And don't you know, that got us into a number of debates over that. Because they just released the Surface laptop, which I don't understand the purpose for that device. It's actually a laptop. It's kind of looks like a thicker version of the Surface Pro tablet with the keyboard, because it's got that same carpety kind of feel for the keyboard, but the keyboard itself actually holds some of the electronics. But you're paying as much as you would be for the tablet, but for a device that you can't remove the keyboard. It's not. It is a touch screen, but you're stuck with that that keyboard. For me, I love the tablet aspect. I used my Surface Pro 3 for everything. Especially I use it when I'm playing music, when I'm playing or leading praise and worship, because I have access to all my chord charts, which are on the cloud. I have access to them. I just pull them up. If somebody throws a curve at me, say, hey, let's do this song, no worries. I can grab it and put it up there. But I guarantee you, if I had a laptop, it would not be able to go up there like a sheet of paper. I can just set this thing right up on the keyboard and and read it, and it's fine. But if this was a Surface tablet, it would not be able to function that way. So I just don't see the value of spending that kind of money for a Surface laptop when you could spend the same kind of money and get a Surface Pro tablet and get the benefits of, you get the best of both worlds. So anyway, so this is apparently leaked because they're going to be actually announcing it at an event in China. They're basically improving some of the internals. They don't know a lot of details yet, but it looks very similar to the Pro 4. My wife has the Pro 4 and she loves it. I love the Pro 3. There wasn't enough difference in the Pro 4 to make it worth me upgrading, especially since the Pro 3 was still working quite fine. I do have sadly a chip out of the screen on my 3 because it took a little bit of a bounce, but it was only in the bezel area, so it's not affecting the touch portion at all, or the the actual display of data. So I mean, it still works fine. But if I'm going to do a refresh, I would like I really wanted a Pro 5 with USB-C and Thunderbolt 3 connectivity protocols on it. Apparently, this is just basically kind of refreshing some of the internals, probably faster processor, a little bit better screen, better type cover, few different colors. Doesn't have purple, which is sad. I like the purple. It's what I have on my Surface Pro 3s, the purple type cover. But without those two, I'm kind of disappointed. Microsoft, when asked about why didn't you add, I mean, come on, everybody else is starting to get it. And their response was, well, we didn't put USB-C on there because not everybody else has it, and there's not really a full standard yet. I'm like, really? You've got a Lumia 950 and 950 XL that have the USB. You've got docks that connect to the device to expand its capability using USB-C. Why couldn't you? All right, so if you want to keep the mini USB on there, go ahead. Why would it be so difficult to just simply add the USB-C on there, even if you're not replacing it? So anyway, so disappointing in that realm. But as more information comes out on this, this may be the device I move up to. We'll see. We'll see as that goes. So that's really the biggest thing that we've got for the tech news. All right, next on the agenda, just a reminder, Patty's Women's Dive Day, 15 July 2017. Visit their website to find out information for a event supporting this that might be in your area. If you're a chica and into diving, this is a good way to kind of network with other women who are into it. As I said last week's episode, women are a growing segment demographic in diving, but they still trail behind guys a little bit. So there's just one way that Patty's trying to encourage that. And of course, obviously, anytime that they can get more people buying their products, their services, then it makes money for them. But I do like some of the causes that they're involved with, and this is one that I think is pretty cool. I would say probably better than half of my students have been female. I've done a number of families as well, but I'd say probably just slightly more than half of my students have been female. I think because now they're just becoming more and more adventurous compared to the guys. I run into plenty of guys that are like, me dive? No. They're scared. They're scared of it. So Patty's Women's Dive Day this year, it's 15 July. So check that out on their website. Another aspect under the something wicked this way comes. I often get, when I'm speaking of talking with people about diving, which I do every chance I can, I often get into conversations where sharks are talked about. And one of the things that kind of frustrates me is that there are a lot of misconceptions about what you need to worry about where sharks are concerned. I tell people all the time, and I tell in the classes, I teach in the classes. I just don't see. We've never run in all of our years. We have never run into any issues with sharks. I mean, we have been diving with plenty of sharks. People hear about shark attacks or a growing number of shark attacks, and it's amazing the misconceptions. You know, there's a lot of sensationalism that goes on in the various news reports talking about shark attacks, and you know, quite frankly, the issue is almost always about a what's the word I'm looking for? Mistaken identity. That when people get attacked by sharks, it's because the shark mistakes them for their regular food, and they just do kind of a test bite, if you will. If you look, it's almost always people that are on the surface of the water, swimming or paddling, swimming or paddling on like a surfboard or something like that. Or if it's in areas where there's a lot of turbidity that decreases the visibility significantly. So sharks will do like a test bite and say, oh, okay, are you what I normally eat? And usually they're turned away after that. So that's why even though you may have shark attacks, they less often result in an actual death. Now, do they result in, loss of a limb, that kind of thing? Yes. But the thing is, you don't really hear that very often happening with divers, because we are fully visible to whatever else is underwater, as long as the visibility is decent. And, there are things that they tell you. If you do happen to be around a shark that seems to be acting menacingly, then you want to move slowly, and you want to stay close to the bottom if you're in a shallower area, or up against a coral area, something where you don't stand out as much compared to the area. But I have just some sections of video from our Belize trip I just wanted to show you. Just show you that there really is nothing to get worried about. See if I can skip ahead here. Drop the volume down a little bit so it's not overwhelming. All right, first clip at about 8 minutes. I love this feature. All right, let's try there. All right, so this was the blue hole in Belize. So we're about 135 feet down. And then I look over to the left, out into the open center area of the blue hole, because we're up against, obviously, the wall, one of the walls. Maybe. I might have jumped too far ahead. Nope, there we go. So there's some typical Caribbean reef sharks coming in close. They're just checking things out. Now, see, their fins are out to the side. Now, a number of places you can read that if a shark is getting more menacing, their fins will start to point down. And see, they kind of swim by just to see, and there's no big deal. And I had absolutely no fear. My heart rate didn't go up. We got 3 sharks there. No big deal. Now, would I be stupid like some of these people and shine a flashlight in their face? No. And let me skip ahead here to about 15 minutes. Back up here. Oops, too far. Right. So this is one of the shallower reefs. I think we were in about 60 feet of water here. I tell you, I love diving Belize. So I was doing my obligatory selfie. And then I happened to see the movement. I look over here. I'm like, oh, hello. I mean, look how close the shark got to these people. And they're totally unaware. And then the one guy looks over. It's like, oh, look, 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 look. So he's trying to get his buddy's attention. I mean, it passed right in front of him. No worries, no issues. Great shots. I mean, gorgeous, gorgeous creatures. See, if you don't mess with them, if you don't antagonize them, they're not gonna, they don't care. They're not gonna mess with you. And see, there is a second shark over there in the distance. And there he goes. All right, let me skip ahead here. 22. Come on now. So here's a bunch of nurse sharks, and there were just a jumble of them. Again, they don't. I mean, they don't even eat meat. They tend to hang along the bottom, kind of like catfish. This was kind of cool. I was like, what is it, scratching its back? I loved this shot. This was such a fun one to get. See how close you get to them? There's absolutely nothing to fear. Again, you move slowly and carefully and don't antagonize, and you're going to be fine. There's nothing to worry about. Let me jump to 28. There we go. See, the thing about diving is all about, there's a lionfish. The thing about recreational diving, it's about relaxing. See, look how close these got. I mean, you practically could go up and pet them. Although, again, I don't recommend interacting with sea life. With very, very few exceptions. There's my lovely wife. Again, you hope that you see, as a diver, you hope you see sharks. You hope for the opportunity to get those up close encounters. See that one? There's one right behind, practically kick him with the fin there. So you see, there really is nothing to fear if you don't do anything to antagonize the situation. I almost get, even though I enjoy diving, period, I can practically dive in zero visibility and enjoy it out here. But I almost feel like it's been not as fun a dive if I haven't gotten to see something like sharks. I'm really hoping to be on a dive where we get to see full-blown manta rays, because those things are huge. I mean, we've seen plenty. I've got lots of video of stingrays of various types, spotted eagles, those kind. And they're gorgeous, don't get me wrong, but man, there's just something about how massive a manta ray is. I would love to get some good shots of that, as well as a whale shark. When we went to Utila in 2008, I think it was, we were hoping to go there to see whale sharks because that was a common place to see them, but we didn't see any. We saw a huge pod of dolphin, but unfortunately no whale sharks. But here's the thing. It's fine to talk. It's fun to talk about sharks. It's fun to, you know, when you hear get somebody asking you, "Oh, I'm afraid of sharks." I'm like, first of all, you're not going to have sharks out here in Lake Amistad. Second of all, you hope that you see a shark when you're scuba diving, because as you've seen in the video there, and this is just one example from one dive trip of many that we've been on, where we have encountered sharks, and it's not a thing. It's not. The interaction is as benign with sharks as it is with turtles, as it is with puffer fish, as it is with anything else. You keep your hands to yourself and just keep calm and enjoy a relaxing dive, then I guarantee you any encounter you have with any sea life is going to be met with absolutely zero risk. You just go there to enjoy yourself. It's when you go do silly things like cave diving, that's where you're inviting some serious risk. And that has nothing to do with the animal life that you might see underneath there. That has to do with the hazard of the environment. Because, I mean, let's face it. The skills we teach help mitigate the risk that you take as a diver. But ultimately, you are a human being in an environment that is not conducive to human life. You know? You're underwater. We breathe air. We're mammals. We need to get air either from the surface or carry it with us. You know, we're not dolphins or whales where we can take a breath at the surface and then our bodies aren't designed to efficiently utilize the air in our system, handle the compression the way that their bodies do. So we mitigate all of that through science and training. So there is still a risk involved in diving because you're in a hazardous environment to humans. But once you learn the skills, then you hope to enjoy everything that is this underwater aquarium that we get to experience as divers. I remember when Tara went on her first saltwater dive, you know, her only experience up to that point was getting trained out here at Lake Amistad and doing some diving out here. When we went on our cruise and we pulled into Grand Cayman and she got to do her first dive at Grand Cayman, it was perfect weather. She came up and said, "It's like diving in an aquarium." And I'm like, yes, that's why we do this. So no matter how impressive, overwhelming, because of size or look of ferocity of the animal life that you encounter, especially in saltwater diving, we're strangers in a strange land. We don't look like anything that they encounter regularly, even in areas where they get a lot of divers. As a matter of fact, if you do encounter any life that is very, very comfortable with people, probably they've been interacting with them too much and they've kind of been somewhat domesticated. I remember when we were on a dive in the Florida Keys, and we were in an area that there was a grouper that they actually warned us about. They said, now when we run into a lot of people that when they dive here, there's a grouper that tends to hang around and want to come up to you because people have notoriously fed this grouper, you know, smaller fish because that's what they eat. And so it's lost any fear of people and has come to the expectation, as often fish do, become trained. They realize, oh, if there's these things that blow bubbles underwater, they like to bring me food, so I don't have to go hunting for it. So they kind of get trained to that. Any animal can be trained with enough time and repetition. And so they actually warned us, is don't do it. Everybody is told not to do it, but people still feed it. But just be aware that if there's one that can, if there's a grouper that gets up close to you, it's probably because it's been lulled into a sense of comfort because people feed the darn thing. So, so really the experience that you get is all about being relaxed and calm and enjoy the variety. Sharks included. Again, you saw in the video, they're not a worry unless you act like they're a worry. That is why we push, when I teach the class, I push, go slow, relax. It's easier to keep control of the situation. It's easier to not get in an out of control situation if you are moving slow, methodical, give yourself time to think about this situation, think about what's going on around you, and make the right choices so that you don't get into trouble. Because quite frankly, if you're moving faster, then you're going to move past something that might be enjoyable for you to see. But also, if you're moving fast and frenetically, you are more likely to create a situation where it becomes a cascade of problems, like the two divers in that movie, Diving into the Unknown, experienced. They got into a panic over a situation that they have had plenty of training experience to deal with, but unfortunately, they allowed time to compress for them and made one bad decision after another, and then they could not think straight. They could not keep their mind open to take in all of the environment, to realize, okay, I'm snagged on a line, but you know what? I have air to breathe, so I don't need to panic. Let me slow down, breathe. And you hear them saying, okay, relax, relax, just breathe. You slow down. You realize if I got air, I've got time. There's nothing that tells me I have to bolt out of here right now as long as I have air. And you got all these tanks around you, and you got your dive buddy who has air too. So Ronan is saying it's time to go. And it just about is too. So there's nothing underwater that can hurt you unless you invite the hurt. So next time you're inclined to maybe ask somebody about sharks or express that you're afraid of sharks, just be aware there's nothing to be afraid of. Understand the environment, understand your training, understand how you are supposed to interact with undersea life, and you're not going to run into any issues. It's that simple. All right. Once again, dive conditions at Lake Amistad. We just have not. The weather has started to warm up some, but no. The weather has started to warm up some, but it's still not where it needs to be consistently. And so, lake temperatures are slowly coming up. I did hear from a little birdie that the Park Service is looking at doing the work necessary to kind of clear out the road of Spur 454, because you saw from pictures last week, it's got overgrown. But they're looking to do what they need to there, possibly opening it up soon. So I'm excited about that, because I love teaching out, teaching the classes out there. I just love diving out there at Spur 454. If you don't have a boat, that's definitely an easy place to get to, and worth it. But again, temperature still mid-60s. Visibility now is going to be horrible because of all this rain that we have. I mean, this was ridiculous amounts of rain. It rained hard most of the day. And, I mean, it was just streams of water going through yards and stuff. Fortunately, we didn't get any flooding in the house here. Otherwise, we would not be having the show tonight. But I can guarantee that the lake is just nothing but a silty, muddy mess right now, which is going to be interesting because we're having our squadron is having our Wingman Day out there tomorrow. So that may be interesting. Hopefully it's not going to get canceled or postponed to another area, but that's going to be interesting. A buddy of mine and I, he's even more experienced instructor. He and his wife both are. They used to teach in Guam. I kind of jokingly said, hey, I might bring my scuba gear if we're kind of just going to enjoy water stuff. And he's like, hey, I might be right there with you. But, you know, the one time that I took them on a dive out here at Spur 454, as a matter of fact, they did not have a great time because they're used to Guam, which is gorgeous diving. Diving in Lake Amistad just pales in comparison. So it was not a great experience for them. So they haven't really been diving since, but I know he's kind of itching to get back into it. So I don't know. I probably am not going to bring the gear tomorrow because it's just going to be such a mess. All right, let's hit some administrivia real quick before we head out. All right, dive classes end of this month, the 25th and 28th of May, then June 22nd through the 25th, July 27th through the 30th, August 24th through the 27th, and September 28th through the October 1st. And those are all basic classes, but if you're interested in an advanced class, I will be happy to take you through it. I'd like to have a minimum of 2 people in that class because really I want to observe how you interact with another buddy. You're already a certified diver. Stop. You're already a certified diver, so you shouldn't really... at this point, you're adding to your skill set. So if you're interested, contact me. Just go visit our website or visit us on the Facebook page right down there at the bottom of the screen. Just go to delriodiveclub.com or look us up on Facebook, which you probably already are if you're watching the show live. You're seeing us right there on the screen, so just look for Del Rio Dive Club. Send us a message via Skype. Just send it to TGWD. Our next Dive Club meeting is 15 June, 7 o'clock at Rudy's. I'd like to see you there. As always, we plug A Pet's Wish. It's our local pet rescue. They do so much to help so many abandoned, abused, neglected animals, and they always, always, always are in need of donations as well as help. So if you're in the area, or even if you're not, you can still send donations their way. So definitely encourage you to do that if you can. And of course, also, if you want to contact me, just send me an email, robert.wade@cetifox.net, or you can follow me on Twitter. Just send it to, just connect, follow me on at robertcfp, and I'll follow you back as long as you're not too annoying. That is all we have for this week. I am really pleased that this next wave of storm has not taken us out. For one point, we lost satellite, and I thought we were going to lose power there because we had some really close lightning strikes tonight or this afternoon. We'll see what happens the rest of the evening, but we thank you all for watching the show live, and we also thank you for watching us on YouTube later. We always upload the show to our YouTube page after we finish up here, and so if all else goes well, we will see you next week on another exciting episode of This Guy Who Dives. We'll see ya.